Oh, you want a lint roller?
It's fine. They can't see it.
There's cat hair
Oh, well,
everywhere.
no, I've got it floating everywhere.
Welcome to Unusable. I'm Kyle.
I'm Delaney.
Not Gilbert. Gilbert is in Australia or something. So this is a show. We call this the show about stuff that we love. And I figured while Gilbert's out of the country, we could talk about something that he doesn't love, but I love, and you have feelings about, and that's social media. Gilbert, I'm sure, could still talk for an hour about social media and about how it's ruining humanity, or at least his humanity. But I still feel like there's redeeming qualities in social media if used correctly. And of course, it's currently April of 2022, and like Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter. And our friend of the show, Javi, I don't know, did you see the episode where we visited Javier? He works for Twitter. I don't know if I'm supposed to not share that, but he like publicly talks about Twitter
LinkedIn,
on his Twitter. Yeah, he's on LinkedIn. He talks about like wanting to get feedback from Twitter users on his public Twitter account all the time. So yeah. So we both use social media, both professionally and personally. And I think we could talk about like why we need social media, but then we can also talk about what we like about social media. So I guess we could start with the professional side. What do you do? What's your job title?
Yeah, I'm a communications coordinator.
Oh, fancy.
Yes.
Coordinator.
But I work at a nonprofit, so, I do 3 jobs in one. And one of those jobs is social media managing. So I run the Save the Bay's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn account.
And Snapchat and...
we don't have those. People want us to get on TikTok, but I'm putting my foot down.
You gotta do the cute little dances and then like pop up little facts about the Bay.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
No.
And then before Save the Bay, I ran the UC Botanical Gardens social media. I had a brief stint with Go Public Schools. I helped with their social media. I somewhat ran the Cal TV Twitter for a hot sec in college, but that was a disaster.
Especially like the comedy side of it. But it was all of Cal TV.
No. It was just comedy.
Oh, it was just the comedy side. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, we were just like sharing our videos when they came out, and I would sometimes like write joke tweets and they would get 0 likes.
Oh.
So that was a failure.
You just weren't quite... You didn't quite hit the zeitgeist with the comedy.
Well, we didn't have an audience.
Yeah.
So
you needed to like tweet at Wendy's or something.
That might have been pre...
good Wendy's Twitter.
Yeah, pre-corporate discovering snarky voices on social.
Yeah. What, so obviously like you have to do this. You have to be engaged. You have to run these. You have to post. As a social media or as a communications coordinator?
Yeah.
Like, what is your approach to social media, especially for a nonprofit like Save the Bay, where you don't necessarily need to do the like corporate snarky thing?
Right. So all the places I worked at are environmental or like scientific type institutions. So we don't get to like, we don't really do memes and stuff. We're more like informational or like, here's just a pretty picture. Sometimes we do really fluffy stuff. But in my role, like, I'm doing a million other things. I'm doing all of the digital marketing, and then now I'm doing content for our programs. So, like, social media is, like, the last thing on my mind.
Oh, no. That's okay.
And, yeah, you never really get enough time to, like, make it good, even though there's, like, some part of you that does want to make it good.
I think I could make something nice. I don't have time.
But basically what I'm doing these days is, like, I'm making a 6-minute video for a policy campaign. I'm gonna just like make a bunch of 30-second snippets of it, put it in a vertical aspect ratio, and then throw it up. Or like it's National Wildlife Week, so I'm gonna like write a bunch of posts about like animals that are native to the bay
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So at Save the Bay, I'm like supporting our programs work, and then there's also like a lot of fundraising too. But obviously, that stuff is like ignored by people.
No.
So it's just like, oh, pretty bay picture. Please give us money if you want it to keep being pretty.
Yeah.
But at the UC Botanical Garden, it was a bit more fun because I got to just like find pretty plant pictures and write.
Have like a curated.
Yeah, a curated of like what's in bloom. I had some volunteers that would like write content for me and say facts about the plants and like why they're important and why they're cool. And while I was there, not to toot my own horn, we hit 10,000 followers on Instagram. So
Plant girl.
Yeah, so the Botanical Garden accounts were a bit more fun to run because, there was just like built-in content all the time.
Yeah.
Save the Bay is a bit more difficult.
I could see Save the Bay getting like a little depressing, like if you tried to do it and you just end up talking about sad things all the time.
Yeah. So we have this series like recommended reading on Twitter where we're sharing articles, and a lot of them are just like, we need money. We need to start funding projects that will like restore the tidal marsh.
If we don't have money, bad things are gonna happen.
Yes, like communities will be flooded and yeah, it will be bad. So yeah, that's another thing too, is like different tones on different platforms is very interesting because
balancing that.
Yeah, because then you have to like curate your content. Like you can't just like write one post for all of the platforms. Then you have to like
kind of tailor them a little bit.
Yeah.
Knowing the audience on Twitter versus Instagram.
Right.
And then I mean, Gilbert would say like text messaging and email are technically social media. I mean, technically, yes, he's right. We have that Marchive. We have the thing called the Marchive. It's a group iMessage with 6 friends, and he calls that his social media. And technically, you're doing that too. You're running an email campaign. You're running posts on the website.
Yeah, blogs and
that would all under. I think what if I'm trying to like imagine what Gilbert would chime in and say if he were here, I think he would say all of that is under that, and I think everything you've just said still applies. Finding the right tone, finding the right, knowing the audience for each of those platforms is important,
and the right vehicle for the content as well.
Yeah. So, I did give you a heads up that we were going to talk about social media, and that I wanted to talk about social media on our personal level and on our professional level. I for a little while, I did something very similar at CMAC. I was kind of running. I was kind of the only one regularly posting on Twitter and Instagram, but we do have a communications and engagement coordinator now whose dedicated role is, and it is just like I have to refrain from like I just want to hop on the Twitter and say something, but I should run this through Natalie because I don't want to step on her toes. So on one hand, yes, it's good that we have a dedicated person and like regular content's coming out, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, I want to say something silly and I should run it by
I mean,
Natalie
that's
first.
the hard thing too, is like a lot of social does feel like it should be spur of the moment, but then you're also like keeping a content calendar and you have things scheduled. But like the online conversation changes and you want to be relevant and you want to like talk about what's going on.
Have it feel like the Wild West.
Yeah,
still.
so like still is just like off the brain. So it is a tricky balance.
Yeah. But I think having a dedicated person has definitely brought the voice more unified and like a more curated feel for it. But yeah, I do slightly miss the days where I could just be like, I'm on a production or I'm doing a workshop. I'm just gonna hop on and say some silly stuff and hopefully people engage and then come in and enjoy or participate or watch the thing that we made. So
Totally.
It's an odd balance. So I think that can lead into, you wrote down some things about the good and the bad of social media. And I think we could jump into that, and then we can circle back around to like our personal social media usage.
Okay.
So what you wrote down, I guess we could start with the bad. What was some of the rough edges of social media that you wrote down that you...
Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe that the gamification of information is just bad. It's a bad thing. I think it preys on people's vulnerabilities, on their addictions, and then it like spreads misinformation because like that is what spreads is like the things that aren't true.
Yeah, and they can be outlandish, and they can be those people don't worry about what they're saying, or their only worry is getting clicks, and it's
Yeah. And there's just like so much money to be made in social too that there are like a lot of bad actors who are just like, using the guise of social of like what it set out to be and using it for bad things.
So check out CMAC's media literacy series of videos to kind of be able to pick out what's good knowledge and what's bad info. Misinformation.
And even on top of that, it doesn't have to be like bad information or wrong or untruthful. Like it preys on people's insecurities and like and their addictions, and you spend so much time on it.
And to get them to separate them from their dollars. Yeah, it's advertising, but it's like hyper inflated. It's a super distilled version of it.
Yeah. And I think like I always think about like the YouTube use case where they were just trying to get people to stay on there longer, and then it ended up radicalizing people.
Yeah. That, all of these social platforms, like their main goal is to keep the user, the participant on the platform for as long as possible, which is great because the longer the eyes are on there, the more ads they can serve. But yes, that can get tricky, and there's just so many people plugged in. There's this idea that like when YouTube has a problem, even if it only affects 0.5% or 1% of all users, their user base is so high that 0.5% is still millions of users. So when there's a problem like radicalization or just like downtime of the service not working, it still affects a ton of people.
Yeah. And like the barrage of information, I like took a long break from Twitter, like scrolling on it during the pandemic, or well, even before, because like I was just being hit with like sad thing after sad thing. And if you don't care about this issue, you're a bad person. If you don't care about this other issue, like the world's gonna fall apart. And I just like couldn't take it anymore. It was way too overwhelming.
Yeah. At that point, like you almost have to like unfollow everyone you follow and start again from scratch to like rebuild your feed so it's not sad. And the Vlog Brothers, I think it was Hank Green, just like recently did a video about, I think he called it the sad hole.
Legitimately awful people who find it useful to manipulate people into being
and how you could get sucked into a sad hole. And he's like, now that I've made this video about the sad hole, I've created a sad hole about the sad hole.
Yeah. It's like if you're looking for sad or bad or terrible things, like there's so much, you can find it everywhere.
Yeah, it can snowball so quickly.
And sometimes you don't realize it until you like take a step back and you're like, oh my God, I've been watching terrible war videos like for the past 3 days. Why am I in a bad mood?
Yeah, and I've like I mentioned on a recent vlog on my YouTube channel, I was just like, I did the daily vlog, and I think I was in it so much that like it was just my day. It was a part of my day, and the days don't stop happening, so it's just a part of it and it's happening. But now that I've stepped back and I want to make 1 to 2 YouTube videos a week, it's hard for me to just pick that 1 or 2 major items of the week to make a video about, but also I have more time to take in what's not just happening in my bubble, but like greater, and like the things that are happening in the Ukraine and across the world. Like I'm reading more news, and it's making me more sad. And I'm like, I shouldn't be allowed to make fun videos about technology and cameras and music and the projects I'm working on when all of these terrible things are happening in the world. I should be making videos about how to help, but I don't necessarily know what's the best way to help, all the way from the Central Valley of California.
Right. Yeah. That's actually something we struggle with at work too. At Save the Bay, we have a DEIA effort, so diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Yeah.
Because nonprofit spaces are super white and have white supremacy rooted in them. So we are doing an org-wide effort to try to combat that. But then, yeah, like people have different feelings about what you should say on social media as an organization. Like, we're an environmental nonprofit. Do we need to say stuff about Black Lives Matter or Stop Asian Hate? Like, it's in our community and we are a community-based org, but like, what do we really have to say about it? And that's something that really stresses me out because then you get trolls or people saying like you did it wrong. And it's
San Francisco Bay Seals say Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
San Francisco Bay Seagulls say Stop Asian Hate.
Right.
Just like
but that's
tying
like,
it in. Like what's the line of like, yes, we care versus
like not centering yourself. Yeah.
Or just like looking like you're piggybacking off of a movement
totally.
to put the light on you.
And then you hear the voices like silence is like says something itself in it of itself, and you're like, okay, you can't do anything right.
Yeah, if you're silent, you're wrong. If you don't perfectly match up your language, you're wrong.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
Yeah, there's so many ways to misstep.
Now, that's not everything that's bad about social media, but those are probably like the things that we are involved with or find ourselves seeing as the bad things of social media the most. What about the flip side? What are some of the good things about social media for both work or for personal usage? What are you finding that's like makes you laugh, makes you smile, gives you a good feeling for the day?
Yeah, I mean, the basics, like it is a platform to like spread information if you're doing it in a good way, and it's a way to like get your message or voice out to communities that you wouldn't particularly reach. So that's like what I'm trying to do at work with it. And it like connects people. Like you can like talk to experts in a field just like on social media. They are available, and that's so cool. And making information like accessible and like easy to understand and digestible, and those are platforms to do it. Those are like really cool stuff. And like I don't know. So those are like the professional ones. Personally, I think like groupthink is fun sometimes. Like mob mentality is bad, but when things go viral and they're really silly and everyone's talking about it, like it's really fun. In that sense, like I've loved seeing people talk about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like that movie has a fair amount of regular traditional advertising, but the word of mouth coming out to support this movie and the Daniels and their wild vision for a multiverse movie has been really cool. I really enjoyed the Daniels' previous movie, Swiss Army Man, and their music videos that they've done. And I think it's just so cool to see on social media, especially on Twitter and a little bit on Instagram, people just like rave about the movie and just like lift up these filmmakers and the rest of the team, like the props designers, the set decorators, the production design folks, the stunt folks that made the movie. And it's really, really cool. And it's been a cool group think and bringing people in to talk about it and talk about something good that's happening in entertainment and in social media and in the world in general. I also love the accessibility. I've been able to talk to people, that I probably would not have had the opportunity had Twitter not existed. And Twitter is still kind of we could talk about like platforms specifically in a little bit, but like Twitter is still kind of my platform that I wouldn't otherwise. My old roommate Dom, got to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda just through like tweeting at it, like responding to a tweet
helping him fix his computer, and then snail mailing him his little like holiday card dueler eye chart thing, and now he lives in New York and does amazing stuff. And there are friends that I've made that I still, well, some of them haven't even met in person, but I get to see what they're doing and interact with them and make suggestions or ask for their input all the time. It's remarkable how small the world has become because of positive social media use.
Yeah.
Social media use with good intentions.
Yeah, I think the like community-based things are really positive. Like, I don't really use Facebook anymore, but I love all the like niche buy nothing groups in San Francisco. Like, we have one in our neighborhood. People are just giving away stuff, and there's really heartwarming stories or like subtle Asian traits.
Oh.
The Facebook group. So it's just like Asian American, or not even Asian, just Asian anywhere memes. And stuff like that. And there's like California Native Plant Society has a Facebook group where people are just like posting California natives, and mushroom hunting groups.
Oh, yeah.
And like every subreddit ever, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you can find solidarity in like the things that you care about, or you can like learn things about yourself and like not feel so alone.
Yeah. And so, some of the platforms allow for anonymity. So if you're just trying to explore and don't want to feel like a total noob, you can at least hide behind it. You can use anonymity for terrible things, but there are some advantages if you're in like an exploratory or learning stage of a hobby or work or something, and wanting to explore or learn more. So pros and cons.
Yeah.
What about, okay, so we've talked about work use, we've talked about what we think are good and bad uses of social media. What about for personal use? I know we were just talking about like, downtime and relaxation, and you were saying like you sit down and you grab your computer and you end up down a rabbit hole, hopefully for good things. What's kind of like your personal social media use?
Yeah. So these days, all I do is consume. I haven't really posted much or regularly at all in like 3 years.
I posted something and you tweeted back at me, and I was like, "Oh, Delaney's on Twitter. She hasn't been on Twitter in forever."
So I posted way too much at the end of high school and beginning of college. I like put every thought in my brain on Twitter. And then I don't know, I just started like getting a lot of anxiety, and I was just like, I need to stop. Like, This is too much. And then now I'm like, I don't want people to know what's going on in my life, or I don't know. Like, I shared an Instagram story this weekend because I went to a wedding, and I was looking at like, it was probably the first Instagram story I posted in a while. And I was looking at who looked at it, and I was like, why is this person looking at my stuff? I was like getting angry for some reason, even though I put it out there.
That's kind of your fault.
Yeah, so I have a weird relationship with social right now because of that. But all I do is consume. Like, despite the fact that I haven't posted in 3-ish years, I'm still on every app every day scrolling because I'm addicted. I can't stop.
Yeah.
And I want to know what's going on.
So what are some of those apps you're checking in on every day?
I'm checking Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. I have not gotten on TikTok yet because I know I will become addicted and obsessed with it, and I'm afraid of how many hours I will lose to it. So I've held out on that one.
And like if you're on Instagram, they have reels, and a lot of TikToks get posted on reels, and the really good TikToks end up on Twitter. And
right.
I think you're okay. Unless you just really want to have your handle. I try, like, if a new social media pops up, I like grab it and grab my handle as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes they fall away.
Wow. Don't steal Dullo on TikTok. I'm going to go swipe it after this.
Go grab it. What do you like each platform for? You're checking these 3, the big 3. And you kind of got into like, the communities on Reddit and Facebook and stuff. But what about Twitter? Why do you still check Twitter? What are you doing on Instagram?
Yeah. I don't really keep up with like people I know, I guess, or like the people I care about. I do.
Sure.
But yeah, on Twitter, I follow like a bunch of illustrators and designers and artists. So I'll hear the like industry chatter that's going on, even though I'm like doing design in a different space. I still kind of like want to know what's going on. And then recently, I started following a bunch of like AI figureheads because my partner Nick does AI and machine learning research.
Yeah.
So I follow like his CEO and his CTO and a bunch of his coworkers because a bunch of machine learning like people are on Twitter and they're like kind of, I feel like they're emulating Elon Musk a little. Like they tweet nonsensical like head in the sky type things, and I just find it very amusing.
Awesome.
So yeah,
because Nick's not on social media.
No,
You showing him
he's
like
not.
this is what your boss said.
Oh yeah, I play this game. I'm like, who said this tweet? And then I read it out loud to him, and usually he gets it like pretty spot on.
He knows
the voices. But yeah, so I guess I'm like Twitter is like industry professionals kind of, and then obviously I follow you and Lauren and like people I know who are like pretty active.
Sure.
And then over on Instagram is kind of, well, yeah. Instagram is more like family and friends. And then I actually am following a bunch of like artists there as well. People who like post reels regularly because I like seeing like their workflow and stuff that they're doing. So I'm into like lino cut prints and like generative art and sewing. So like a lot of craft and design. And then, you know, the here and there, the celebrities that I care about.
Oh, on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Reddit, like you said, you were kind of like you're digging into subreddits and communities and stuff.
Yeah, the smaller like niche ones, like I don't know, the like houseplants and the sewing and the graphic design and marketing and I don't know, the Lord of the Rings memes. That one's not small. That one's very big.
That one's huge. Yes. Yeah, the Star Wars memes, the Lord of the Rings memes, they're posting every single day, every minute of every day.
Yeah. Oh, and Reddit, a lot of like environmental activism as well.
So like adjacent to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like Twitter, I've already said, Twitter is still kind of my main thing. I don't know. I think I started in like 2008 and I just dig it. Yeah, a lot of friends, but also a lot of industry folks in video and photography and audio and music. And I would say like that's where I also kind of follow like celebrity stuff too, not so much Instagram. And Instagram for me, is mostly friends and family and people I know. And then I'll post like text and thoughts to Twitter. I'm still posting like it's 2008 and just whatever silly idea or phrase pops into my head, I'll put there. And then I basically just put pictures and short clips on Instagram, and then I have them pushed to Facebook, and that's really all Facebook is getting these days. You know, I just got back from San Diego. I posted one set of pictures and another set of pictures, and like their interaction was funny to kind of like you said, you posted your story. It was kind of funny to see who interacted from friends and family with those posts on Instagram and in Facebook. And I do like to compare like, well, who's more on Instagram, who's more on Facebook, just to kind of see even within the Facebook bubble where the divide is, because there are some folks who are just on Instagram, there's some folks who are just on Facebook, and like in my mind it's like they're the same company. It's the same feed, but it's funny to see who interacts on one over the other.
Yeah, totally.
I hop on Reddit. I hop on Reddit like last. I'm just like, oh, if I still have time.
Yeah.
Because it really is, it can be a deep rabbit hole. Even just looking at like my homepage with the handful of subreddits that I subscribe or favorite. Follow. Yeah, however the phrasing is. Reddit is like overwhelming to me because it is so, the depth is so deep, but then it's highly anonymous. So I feel like I find myself like, if I read something interesting on Reddit, I really need to go and like fact check it and like confirm, because it's that Reddit still really feels like the Wild West of like.
Yeah, I think to myself, if I'm like finding information from Reddit, I just think to myself, like, a 13-year-old could be writing this. Like,
Right.
just remember that. Don't take it as fact.
Very few people are using
Yeah.
their name as their handle and have their picture. They use their own like little Reddit avatars.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one feels like the most like untrustworthy to me.
Yeah.
Like aside from like Facebook groups that can get radicalized and like YouTube autoplay that can radicalize people, I feel like Reddit is right up there with
Sure.
that.
The thing I really, really like about Reddit is when I'm researching stuff to buy, I'm always like, what is the best air humidifier? Reddit. And then there's like 50 threads with like
Yeah.
people who have bought it and share
And they're very
their
passionate
opinions.
about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that I could see like going to Reddit with the specific thing you're trying
Yeah.
to do, but if I just hop on Reddit just to hop on Reddit, like that's a scary wormhole to me.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is funny
fair.
because Lauren's preferred social media platform, like when we first met, was Reddit, and I was just like, you just scroll on Reddit, like that's scary. Like yes, you kind of curate which subreddits you're in, but they're just so open. They're just
Yeah.
so loosely pieced together, or so anonymously pieced together that
Yeah.
it's harder to like verify.
It's also one of the more whiplashy like
sure.
platforms in my opinion, like, oh, a cute bunny, and then like, oh my god, like someone's literally getting run over by a car and maybe someone died in this clip.
Yeah.
So that can be like really bad for me, my experience on Reddit, and I'm just like, oh my god, the rest of my day is ruined. But I experience that on Twitter sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know what's gonna pop up when you're scrolling, and that's the hard part.
That too. Yeah, at least with like Instagram, it's just the people you follow. Well, they're kind of experimenting with putting other stuff in your feed,
Yeah.
but it's primarily the people you follow. Facebook's primarily the people you follow. Reddit's, Twitter with the retweets and then sometimes suggested tweets, unless you try to like tell Twitter to not do that. You can still get some weird stuff. And then Reddit is just like, this thing is trending and I don't know why it's trending.
Yeah.
You need to see it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you can be scarred. Yeah, like you said, the rest of your day could be ruined.
Yeah.
But I think you can use social media for good. There's still a lot of bad, and that's what I was gonna say. The former executive or CEO or something of Reddit did actually a Twitter thread about what it's like to run a social media platform. I'll have to link it in the description of this video, but it was in response to Elon Musk possibly buying Twitter, and he's just like, Elon, you don't want to do this. As someone who's run Reddit, you don't want to do this. It'll take away from your time at Tesla. It'll take away from your time at SpaceX. And I think those endeavors, even though they're not perfect, they're important endeavors. You're pushing technology forward. You're pushing like clean energy and space exploration. And you don't want to get caught up in the day-to-day of Twitter running a social media platform. So even the people who work there, the people who run them, like, hats off to you. It's not easy work.
That's something we didn't even get into. Like, social media apps aren't free. Like, they seem free as a user, but they're just data mining us.
Yeah, which is funny because there was a tweet that was that common phrase that like, if the service is free, then you're the product. But
Right.
the picture was the calculator, iPhone calculator.
Nice. Yeah, but I feel like running a social media app is like, it seems like, oh, it's just like a fun, like easy infrastructure, just like people, you got to maintain it. But like, I don't know, there's just like so much more that goes on in the companies that we don't think about on a daily basis because
And then
they're doing it behind our backs.
sure.
Or they're hoping we don't look behind at what they're doing.
And then like problems happen at scale, like the YouTube thing. Like if part of Twitter is not working right, and it's only affecting 1%, that's still millions of people who are being affected by a small issue. Whether that's like a technical thing or like being spammed or being radicalized or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but if you have the basics of media literacy and you curate your feeds, it can still be a helpful tool. It can still be something that brings a little bit of joy or information or knowledge to your life. Just scroll safely.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we're over a half hour. We're blowing past it. But were there any closing thoughts you had on social media as a topic?
Yeah, all that being said, I do kind of miss posting. As you were talking about Twitter, I remembered I literally have a notes app of like things that I would have tweeted if I still tweeted. So I still have it in my brain a little bit. And I've been telling myself for the past year, I'm going to start posting on Instagram again, but I'm going to make it like a portfolio account and like post my personal projects, like my vlogs and my designs and my crafts and stuff. And I just like haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
It can be a chore.
Yeah, maybe that's when you come back and visit us again. We'll talk about like how to make the time for the things that you love outside of your work. Well, maybe that's something you can work on, and we'll check back in and see how that's going.
Less time scrolling, more time making.
Yeah. Final thoughts. What was unusable today? Anything? I think using social media without a keen eye or media literacy skills. Again, check out CMAC's media literacy videos. We put a lot of work in them. And I think they're helpful.
Yeah. Follow Save the Bay at Save SFBay.
Save the Bay at Delo.
Yeah, at Delo. Maybe I'll post again.
Maybe.
Who knows? You'll find out.
And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe to Unusable with Kyle and Gilbert. Gilbert should be back for the next episode. And we'll see you in a fortnight. Peace.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Bye.